Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a sledgehammer to a massive myth that has kind of haunted business strategy for decades. And that's the idea that making a profit and doing social good are fundamentally at odds. We are going to look at why proactive social investment isn't just some fluffy PR stunt. It's actually the ultimate survival and growth strategy for modern businesses. Let's dive right in.
So, here's a quick roadmap of what we're covering. We'll hit the business versus society myth, look at the mega planning paradigm shift, review history's successful social capitalists, dig into a fascinating case study of the Refinor refinery, and wrap up with the undeniable bottom line. All right, section 1, the business versus society myth. We're going to start by exposing a pretty huge blind spot in mainstream business.
You know, management legend Peter Drucker really hit the nail on the head way back in 1988. He pointed out that managers inevitably look at their business from the inside. They treat the company like it exists in a vacuum, and that is a dangerous managerial blind spot. Because when you're only looking inward at your spreadsheets, you completely forget that your business actually requires a functioning, healthy society around it just to survive.
And that blind spot? That led to what's called inside-out planning. For decades, this has literally been the standard playbook. The obsessive focus is purely on internal tactics, right? Making a widget faster to hit those short-term quarterly goals. Under this old model, any community investment is basically just a defense mechanism. It's treated like liability insurance to keep regulators happy, completely assuming that spending money on social good is somehow incompatible with real profit. But what if that whole assumption is totally backward? Let's move to section 2. The mega planning paradigm shift. Enter organizational theorist Roger Kaufman. He introduced a completely flipped approach. It's an outside-in strategy called mega planning. Instead of obsessing over your internal process, mega planning argues you absolutely must focus on the development of your surrounding community first. Think about it. If society is collapsing right outside your doors, your internal efficiency doesn't matter at all. Just look at Enron. They had a ruthless internal focus on numbers, and it completely crushed them. Mega planning is all about securing your long-term viability by actively improving your external environment. Now, to prove this isn't just some utopian theory dreamed up in a faculty lounge, let's jump into section 3, history's successful social capitalists. Let's look at Henry Ford. The guy didn't just build cars. Sure, step 1, he revolutionized internal production with the assembly line. But he knew that mass production requires mass consumption. So what did he do? He actively created consumer demand by paying his workers a wage high enough so they could actually afford to buy the cars they were building. He literally engineered a sustainable middle-class market to drive his own massive profits. Or fast forward a bit and consider Starbucks. They realized their entire global empire was at risk if rural coffee producers went under, so they stepped way outside their four walls. They went in and actively improved the social, environmental, and business skills of farmers across the globe. And let's be clear, this wasn't just charity. It was a brilliant strategic move to secure the very foundation of their supply chain. All right, let's ground all of this theory in some hard data. Section 4, case study, Refinor refinery. We've got a fascinating 9-year timeline to look at here. Think of this as the perfect ABA business experiment. Refinor, which is a major gas company in Argentina, used conventional planning from 1994 to 1996. Faced with a massive crisis, they implemented mega planning from 97 to 99. But then, new owners took over and, you guessed it, they reverted right back to the old strategy from 2000 to 2002. So let's see exactly what happened. Back in 1997, Refinor's local community was practically collapsing from massive unemployment. I love this vivid description from the source material. Workers described their situation as living on an increasingly isolated island of prosperity, surrounded by a literal sea of social unrest. We're talking alcoholism, crime, property loss, right outside the factory gates. All the internal efficiency in the world couldn't save them, because their top talent was threatening to leave. The neighborhood was just too dangerous to raise a family in. Faced with this total crisis, Refinor pivoted hard. And this is the fascinating part. A gas company actively trained locals to launch 160 new agricultural businesses. Why? Well, agricultural businesses need fuel. They were literally building their future customer base. They also funded schools, partnered on healthcare campaigns, and launched youth sports programs for 6,000 kids, just to keep them off the streets. They aggressively built up the economic and social capacity of the community they relied on. So, did it actually work? Was it worth the money? Let's hit section 5, the undeniable bottom line.
The results here are absolutely striking. During that first conventional period, local unemployment was hovering around 23%, and property loss against the company was really high. But look at the mega planning era. Unemployment plummeted down to between 10 and 15%, and the property loss index dropped to near zero. Then comes the tragic twist. When the new owners reverted to the old strategy in 2000, unemployment catastrophically spiked up to 32%, and property loss skyrocketed right back up. I mean, the cause and effect here is just undeniable.
And how did all of this impact their actual market dominance? Well, during the conventional periods, market share hovered around 4.4%. But during those mega planning years, it surged to an average of 6.3%. Think about that. That is a nearly 50% surge in market share, and it was achieved purely by developing their external clients and stabilizing the community, making Refinar the absolute regional brand of choice. To put that into perspective, here is a staggering number, 36%. That was the average reduction in property loss and riots during the mega planning years. It proves, in cold, hard financial terms, that social stability is highly lucrative. Actively investing outside their walls dramatically reduce the wildly expensive disruptions happening inside.
And here's another massive bottom-line benefit: a 50% reduction in internal employee turnover. By fixing the community, they solved their talent retention problem. Workers actually wanted to stay. The environment was suddenly safer, the region was prospering, and the company got to keep its absolute best people. Refinar's tragic collapse back into chaos after the year 2000 perfectly summarizes the big takeaway here. The true 21st century business risk isn't about ignoring some new software update. It's entering emerging markets with exclusively short-term financial goals and absolutely zero social strategy. Doing social good is no longer just a PR exercise, folks. It is a critical, measurable risk mitigation tool and a powerful driver of long-term profit.
So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to challenge how you view your own organization's growth strategy. Are you actively building a sustainable community around your business, or are you just trying to build an isolated island of prosperity? Because as we've clearly seen from the data, an island can eventually be swallowed by the sea. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep focusing on the big picture, and we'll see you next time.